Hello, everyone. We're going to start at 3 o'clock. We're just going to wait another minute or so. Welcome. And let us know where you're calling in from. Say hi in the chat. All right, it is 3 o'clock. Welcome to the Summer of Access webinar series. Today's session, Can You Hear the Picture? Demystifying Audio Descriptions, brought to you by L'Etoile Education and the Accessibility L&D community. We are in a Zoom meeting, so a few reminders. Please stay muted unless speaking. Use the chat or raise hand feature. Recordings will be shared in the Accessibility L&D Slack community, and we have live captions and transcripts available to you through the presentation. The webinar topics next up after today's session is also how do blind people see the computer July 15th. I'll put that in the chat. But we're really here to focus today on our audio descriptions and our presenter, Marnie. So I'm going to introduce Marnie to you all. Welcome. We're so glad to have you. Marnie is a learning experience and instructional designer with nearly a decade of experience creating training that empowers teams, strengthens client relationships, and supports strategic growth. With a background in instructional storytelling, higher education, and technical communication, Marnie designs learning with empathy, clarity, and impact. She's especially passionate about accessibility and inclusive design and serves as the deputy chair of Arcadis's Access. I was going to make sure I didn't get that wrong. Arcadis. She'll probably say it for you, just to make sure we get it right there. Access and Neurodiversity Affinity Group. Whether building learning journeys or advocating for workplace inclusion, Marnie believes great learning starts with listening, storytelling, and thoughtful design. Please join me in welcoming Marnie. I have had the pleasure of getting to know her over the last few weeks. Oh my gosh, months. We are neighbors in Rhode Island, and I'm just so excited that you get to hear from her today. So I'm going to stop my share and turn it over to you, Marnie.
Thank you so much. Give me 1 second to get my sharing going and we'll get started. So many different places to click here. Hold on just a second. I apologize. Hold on. Let me turn one thing off and then turn another thing on. There we go. Let me get this ready to go. And now I just lost my Zoom. Of course, I lost my Zoom. Putting it over here. Okay. You'd think you'd have it all ready to go. And then all of a sudden, here comes the share. There we go. Can everyone see that?
You are all set, Marnie.
Wonderful. Sorry about that. A little bit of a technical difficulty there. So hello, everyone. And thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Nicole, for the opportunity to present today. And I do work for Arcadis, which is a global consulting firm. Before I begin, I want to let you know that I'm not an expert in audio descriptions. And you are probably thinking, why is she presenting on this? And the reason is that I am studying for the CPAC exam that I'm taking next week. And as I was working through the different guidelines, I decided to do a little research and learn some more. And what better way to make sure that I get that research done than to present to all of you. So here I am sharing what I've learned. I'd like to give a huge shout out to Jacob Wood, who hopefully is here. I'm not sure if he is or not, but he was kind enough to share his experience as someone who benefits from audio descriptions. And so I'll be sharing some of what he gave to me as well. And Jacob, if you are here, please feel free to chime in at any time. So let's get started with the simplest of agendas. We're going to learn today what audio descriptions are, why they matter, and how to create and implement them. Very, very simple, right? So first, let's start with what are audio descriptions. So WCAG 2.1 Success Criterion 1.2.5 Level AA requires that all pre-recorded video content include an audio description of key visual information that's not conveyed by the main audio track or narration. So what are audio descriptions? An audio description is a secondary narration that describes the visual elements of a video for viewers who are blind or have low vision. And the goal is to make videos perceivable to visually impaired users by augmenting the audio with descriptions of what is on the screen or of the visuals. So 1.2.5 specifically focuses on audio description, audio tracks for videos. However, a best practice is to also provide text transcripts that include those descriptions so that users who might use Braille or other text-based means to access the content can also use them. When I spoke with Jacob for a few minutes, he mentioned that audio descriptions are pretty common, but they can be hit or miss. Almost every movie he's seen, he said, in the last 13 years had audio descriptions available. Netflix and Disney Plus also support them. Occasionally, though, they don't work, which of course is why they are hit or miss. And I can imagine that's frustrating. To access audio descriptions on streaming services, it's usually as easy as going to the closed captions menu and selecting it. Before we get into best practices, let's look at an example. This video does not have audio descriptions. It's not an educational video, so enjoy as we watch the first minute and a half of one of my favorite shows, Young Sheldon. I'm not giving you any more detail on purpose so you can see and hear the difference when we do add the audio descriptions. And apologies to anyone who can't see this. I promise it will get better. And please give me a thumbs up if you can hear the audio.
I've always loved trains. In fact, if my career in theoretical physics hadn't worked out, my backup plan was to become a professional ticket taker or hobo. And when I figured out that trains allowed me to prove Newton's first law, an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force, I felt like Neil Armstrong on the moon, alone and happy.
Kelly, dinner's ready.
I don't care how dim-witted you are, scientific principles have to make you smile. Of course, nobody I knew in East Texas in 1989 cared about Newtonian physics. The only Newtons they cared about were Wayne and Fig.
Sheldon, if you don't get in here, I'm going to lick your toothbrush. Coming!
That's my sister, and she's done it before.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. You've seen the first 90 seconds. And what kinds of things do you think a person who is visually impaired might have missed if all they were doing was listening to the audio track? And you could go ahead and come off mute if you want to, or pop some ideas into the chat. And Nicole, you may have to help me with this.
I'll keep an eye on the chat for you.
Okay, thank you. I did not tell you to actually watch for things that people might have missed, but see if you can remember.
His experiment with the train set.
Okay.
It's from Carolyn. The written opening credits.
Okay.
That's from Carrie, sorry.
Anything
His
else?
facial expressions, yes.
Yeah.
I would not have known he was playing with the train, popping balls and running to another room in the end, from Paula. Age of the person.
Okay, good.
The character is a child and not matched with the voice, Katie.
Yep. This is a really, really good example of why audio descriptions can help. And I'm going to show you what it sounds like with audio descriptions. And I'm not going to stop the video this time because there's a few more things that you will notice. So let me just move to the next slide and we'll watch the full 3 minutes.
Grainy footage fades in on a model train set. A title, Young Sheldon. A boy in a button-up assembles and tests models.
I've always loved trains. In fact, if my career in theoretical physics hadn't worked out, my backup plan was to become a professional ticket taker or hobo.
He spans a tunnel piece over the track and attaches the bottom of a bottle rocket upside down to a train car.
And when I figured out that trains allowed me to prove Newton's first law, that an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted upon by an unbalanced force, I felt like Neil Armstrong on the moon, alone and happy.
Ellie, dinner's ready.
The rocket pops a ball over the tunnel and catches it.
I don't care how dim-witted you are, scientific principles have to make you smile. Of course, nobody I knew in East Texas in 1989 cared about Newtonian physics. The only Newtons they cared about were Wayne and Fig.
Sheldon, if you don't get in here, I'm gonna lick your toothbrush. Coming!
That's my sister, and she's done it before.
The boy switches off the model and sprints out into the dining room.
Hey, how are you doing out there?
George, language.
What language? So?
I was exploring dimensional kinematics. Admit it, he's adopted. How can I be adopted when I have a twin sister? Think, monkey. Think.
That's enough. No one's adopted.
I wish I was.
That can still be arranged. Now let's pray.
A moment, please.
Sheldon slides mittens on.
Leave him be.
He can hold hands with his family. It won't kill him.
We don't know that. Georgie, did you wash your hands for dinner or even this week? None of your business. Hence the mittens.
George concedes.
Thank you, God, for this food we are about to receive and for the nourishment of our bodies, and bless the hands that prepared it.
Amen.
How come we ain't got no tater tots?
I made tater tots last night.
I'd take tater tots over mashed potatoes any day.
Just eat what I made you.
Can we at least have tater tots tomorrow?
It was family dinners like this that led me to adopt a mid-Atlantic accent. Nobel Prize winners ought not be ordering tater tots.
Everybody excited to start school Monday?
I am. I guess so.
Georgie, freshman year, that's a big deal.
How can I be excited when he's gonna be in the same grade as me?
Don't worry, Georgie. I'm not planning on being in the 9th grade for very long. All I know is he's not in the same grade as me anymore, and I'm thrilled. Good luck with your finger painting. You're gonna get your ass kicked in high school.
Hey, language.
I'm not going to be assaulted. High school is a haven for higher learning.
Oh, dear God.
Speaking of God, who's going to church with me tomorrow?
I can't. I'll meet with the other coaches.
Can't meet after church?
No, Mary, I can't meet after church.
Georgie?
I gotta study my playbook.
Georgie and his dad trade a sly smile.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. First of all, I absolutely love this show. It's just so clever. There's so much content that was described in this short 3-minute video that tells the story of a young Sheldon Cooper that could have been missed, like the bottle rocket in the train, like someone mentioned, or the mittens. Later on, there's a food fight that's described. Hopefully this example shows how audio descriptions are invaluable to those who are visually impaired. And I think you probably also noticed that the audio description didn't necessarily match exactly what was happening on the screen at the same time, but it was there to provide context around what was happening. And you can provide a lot more context with these audio descriptions. You can see how much more perceivable it would be for someone who is visually impaired to have that context. Of course, Young Sheldon is a television series. What about educational videos? So let's move into that next. A few reasons why audio descriptions matter. First, you have equal access for blind and low vision learners. Audio descriptions provide crucial visual information such as diagrams, text on the screen, gestures, scene changes that sighted learners would take for granted. Without them, blind and low vision students miss key parts of the lesson. Improved comprehension. Even for sighted learners, audio descriptions can reinforce visual content and help clarify complex visuals, such as science experiments or software demonstrations. They make the learning experience more multimodal and cognitively accessible. Of course, we have compliance with WCAG and disability laws. Providing audio descriptions helps meet 1.2.5 success criterion, and it supports compliance with the ADA and Section 508 in the US and other regional accessibility regulations in educational settings. Audio descriptions support inclusive design and universal design for learning by offering multiple means of representation, benefiting a broader range of learners, including those with processing differences, ADHD, or temporary vision impairments. I love this one, better retention and review. For learners who prefer auditory input or who are multitasking, as we know, a lot of people multitask, maybe they're reviewing material while commuting, or maybe they happen to be on their phone. Audio descriptions ensure that they can still engage with and retain essential visual information. And the last reason why this matters is that accessibility builds empathy and equity. Incorporating descriptions sends a clear message that you belong here. It demonstrates that an institution values all learners and actively designs learning content to be inclusive. So let's talk about some best practices. Writing quality audio descriptions is both an art and a technical skill. And I'm going to pop up 7 different best practices to think about as we go through this. And this is going to apply mostly to educational content, but again, it applies to any audio descriptions as well. The first one is to focus on the key visual information. Describe only visual elements that are important for understanding. You notice in the Young Sheldon video, there were a lot of things that were not described, and they weren't necessary for understanding what was going on. So make sure that you're describing only the visual elements that are important for understanding the video's content or learning objectives. Imagine describing the video to someone who can't see it. What information would they need? So you would include things like charts and diagrams, on-screen text, like we mentioned, important actions or changes in setting. You can omit the trivial details that don't impact comprehension, and don't narrate things that are already evident from the main audio. For example, if the audio description said, "She says with a smile," it might be useful, but not if the speaker already conveyed some happiness in their voice. Be clear and objective. Describe objectively without interpretation or opinion, and avoid inferring intent or explaining the meaning. Basically, stick to the observable facts. For example, the instructor writes the equation E equals MC squared on the board. That's very specific, rather than saying the instructor writes something important. It's kind of important to know what is on the board. So, but also avoid inferring intent or explaining meaning. Let viewers draw their own conclusions from the described visuals. Use simple, clear language that matches the tone of the video. And in educational content, ensure technical terms or labels are visible on the screen, like interface buttons or scientific names. Make sure those are spoken. When I was speaking with Jacob, he said not to color the audio description with extra adjectives. We kind of like to do that sometimes. You might only have 3 to 5 seconds to work with, so you need to be clear. The next best practice is to use present tense and third person. So you write your descriptions in present tense, active voice, and third person narrative style. This style creates a sense of real-time observation. For example, graph bars rise to 80% is active voice. It's explaining what's happening right then on the screen. Or you could say, Dr. Smith shakes her head. Again, this is exactly what's happening on the screen. Present tense helps keep the action immediate and easier to follow. Include on-screen text. Educational videos often contain slides, bullet points, or captions within the video itself. All text that appears in the video should be conveyed either in the main audio or in the audio description track. This means reading or summarizing slide titles, labels on diagrams, or text in a screencast. You don't always need to be verbatim, but be sure to convey the same information. For example, if a slide shows key causes of climate change, the audio description or narration should announce that title. If the video happens to show an email address or a URL, you should speak that out as well, or provide an alternate text resource for that. Timing and brevity. So you need to fit the descriptions into natural pauses in the audio. Time your descriptions so they don't overlap the dialogue or any critical sound. You have to be concise. It's crucial. Learners should get the visual info without losing track of the primary audio. So you would put these descriptions in between, pauses in between sentences, silence while an instructor is demonstrating something, and so on. If a pause is too short, prioritize the most important details. So for example, if there was a science experiment, if a 5-second pause isn't enough to describe everything that's happening, just focus on the outcome or what happens at the end, rather than every minor action. Another best practice is to maintain a neutral tone. The narration voice for descriptions should be distinguishable from the main speakers and delivered in a neutral, non-dramatic tone. The goal is to inform, not to emote. For education, a calm and clear voice, human or synthetic, works best so as not to distract from the lesson. Also, make sure you speak at a measured pace, not too fast, as some listeners may need a moment to process the information. Just a couple more. Script and review. So for pre-recorded educational content, it's ideal to write the audio description script in advance, review the video and note where the descriptions are needed, script them, read them aloud while watching the video to check fit and clarity. And as a writer, you have to master the art of timing. Ensure your description starts slightly before the visual event or exactly during it and end before the main audio resumes. After adding descriptions, do a playback review or have a reviewer who is visually impaired test it to ensure the content is now understandable without seeing what's on the screen. Consider extended audio descriptions. So if the video has no pauses that are long enough for critical descriptions, you may use something called extended audio description, which pauses the video playback to insert the narration. And some modern players or tools support automatically pausing the video for audio description. This ensures that viewers don't miss any original audio at the cost of lengthening the video. Extended descriptions are especially useful for educational diagrams or complex visuals that need more explanation. And then you can just plan for this if you know that a video is visually dense. So the big three takeaways, I know I gave you a lot of information. The big three takeaways from these best practices are to emphasize the important visuals, be concise and objective, and synchronize carefully with the existing audio. For tools and how to create audio descriptions, I used ChatGPT to do a little bit of research. It came back with way too many ideas to share in this presentation, so I'm just going to share a couple of examples. And we have our manual methods. These are manual human-generated audio descriptions. Manual methods rely on human judgment and narration, and it's time-consuming, but it yields the highest quality customized descriptions. This is especially important in education where accuracy of terminology and intent matters. I'm going to share a couple of different tools that I found to be interesting. The first one is called Cadet. This tool lets you import your video, type descriptions with time codes, and export a web VTT or other format with description text, but it does not generate the audio itself. The advantage of using this is that it produces a script that is synchronized with the video that can be voiced. The next one is called YouDescribe. With YouDescribe, a describer can record their voice narrating descriptions for any public YouTube video, and then users can play the video through YouDescribe to hear the added audio descriptions in sync. This is a manual method. Again, it's human voiceover, and it requires that the video be accessible via YouTube. The benefit, though, is that you don't have to host a separate described version. The descriptions stream alongside the original video. Now, manually, you also have video editing software like Adobe Premiere Pro, Final Cut Pro, Camtasia, and then free audio software like Audacity. And that can be used to record and mix the audio description into the track. For example, you can write the script, record it yourself, or a narrator can do it, reading it using a microphone and in Audacity, and then use the video editor to duck the main audio and insert narration at appropriate times. Ducking, and I had to learn this term, ducking means that you're lowering the main audio volume slightly when the description plays to ensure that it's clear. The process is labor intensive, but it gives you fine-grained control over the output of the video. And of course, there are plenty of vendors who will create audio descriptions for you for a fee. Some examples are Verbit, AST, and 3Play Media, and I'm sure there are a lot more. And then we move on to AI and hybrid methods. So automated tools can drastically cut down the effort by generating the initial content. They're getting better at producing clear and natural descriptions thanks to advances in computer vision and natural language generation. However, just like any AI-generated products, you should always expect to do some editing. AI might miss context or use awkward phrasing, especially for educational material with technical visuals. The AI might not know how to describe a physics diagram meaningfully, for example. So you want to always review auto-generated descriptions for accuracy. Despite that, though, these tools are invaluable for scaling audio description across large volumes of content. So let's talk about a little bit about AI and hybrid methods for audio description. So first is AI-assisted scripting. This is a Microsoft AI audio description tool. It's open source, and it automates much of the description process by analyzing scenes and proposing descriptions. It also grabs the speech to text that already exists and identifies the silent gaps to insert proposed descriptions into those gaps. Essentially, you get a first draft audio description track. You do need to be a little tech savvy, or you might need to involve IT because it is an add-in and a plugin that gets installed into your systems. A great use case example could be that an educational media department could run this tool to quickly generate draft descriptions for many lectures and then have staff edit them for accuracy, and that significantly speeds up the compliance. Audible Sight is relatively new and not completely available yet. It's software as a service, and it uses AI to analyze visual content and then generate the audio descriptions with synthetic speech. It inserts it right into the video automatically, and then you can review right on their website and tweak any descriptions through the editor interface. The result is an accessible version of the video that's delivered quickly versus the traditionally labor-intensive process. And this is a paid commercial tool targeted at making it easy and affordable, according to them, to add audio descriptions to content. And it does sound like it's easy, though it's not available yet, so we can't test it. For an educational institution with many videos, an AI service like this could dramatically reduce time required to meet accessibility laws. And because it is software as a service, you would upload your videos to their platform and then download the described version or the audio track. Another example is Yuja, which it's the enhanced audio description module. This tool automatically analyzes a video and creates a detailed description track in minutes using AI to identify on-screen elements and generate natural language descriptions. One standout feature is that you can pause the video playback. So when there's a lengthy description, the narration doesn't talk over the original. Active editor to review and adjust the AI's descriptions, timing, and maintaining control over accuracy. Yuja is often integrated with LMS environments, and so the described videos can be deployed to students seamlessly. However, this feature is an add-on, a paid add-on, as part of their Gen AI Video Power Pack. So we're going to look at another tool that I just learned about in a minute, but first let's have a chat about what you do once you have the audio descriptions. Creating the audio description is half the battle. The next step is delivering it to the end users. For compliance and inclusivity, audio descriptions should be available both as an audio narration track and ideally as text, captions, or transcript. This ensures that users can toggle the description on and off as needed, and that there's a text equivalent for the description audio benefiting those who might use Braille, again, as I mentioned before. First, you can create a separate audio track. Many modern video platforms allow video to have multiple audio tracks. For example, you have a primary track and an audio description track, and the viewer can choose between them. In these cases, the audio description voice usually includes the original audio mix plus the added narration, just like the video that we saw at the beginning for Young Sheldon. If a platform doesn't support dual audio, a common solution is just to provide two versions of the video, one regular and one with audio descriptions burned in. The user or LMS can then offer a toggle link that says something like play video described, which loads the alternate video file. The downside is that you have to maintain two files, but it guarantees that you are compatible with players that don't do multiple audio tracks. You can also add text-based audio description. Another method is you can use a timed text track for descriptions and have the player or browser voice them out or display them as captions. The HTML5 track element supports this kind of description in web VTT files that you would use for captions. Some accessible media players, AblePlayer, Video.js with plugins, Panopto, etc., take advantage of this. Then you also have an option for open or closed descriptions, which are very similar to open or closed captions. Audio descriptions can be open, which means they're always present, or closed, and the user can turn on and off. Closed is often preferred for flexibility, but use open only if you know all viewers need it or if technical limits prevent multiple versions. In an LMS, closed description is usually implemented as either the separate track or separate video approach described above. One thing that you do need to remember is that when you're creating closed captions, that you do provide an actual audio narration track for the descriptions when you provide audio track for descriptions, remember to caption that audio as well, just like any dialogue. Video player controls. Ensure that the player you use in the LMS exposes controls for audio description. Many players now have an AD button similar to the CC closed caption. And then lastly, one more thing to point out about SCORM e-learning tools. If you are creating packaged content with Articulate Storyline, Captivate, etc., you should still provide audio descriptions. Some authoring tools may not have a native AD feature, but you can work around it. For example, in Storyline, you might layer a narration track and create a custom accessibility toggle button that plays and pauses that track, or use triggers to play descriptions at certain times. It's not as straightforward as video players, but it's doable by adding the extra audio and using variables to control them. And then when publishing to the LMS, obviously you want to test to make sure that the toggle works. And alternatively, you might just provide an extended audio version like we described above, or before, not above. Okay, so I have a new tool that I recently learned about. This is a tool, and actually Jacob Wood was the one who told me about this, so I decided to play with it and test it to show you the results. It wasn't perfect, and you'll see when I show you some before and afters, it's not good for everything, and I'm showing you these on purpose so you can kind of see how it works. The tool is called VidiScribe, V-I-D-D-Y Scribe, and it automatically adds audio descriptions to your videos. There's a free version where you can test a bunch of files. You're limited to 2-minute videos and 100 megabytes per video, but they do give you 50 total minutes a month. So it's pretty generous if you want to test it. In the end, VidiScribe pauses the video to describe what is going on. So it's using the extended audio descriptions idea. So we're going to look at some examples that I tested of very different video styles. The first is something that's really difficult to describe. It's a snippet of some of my daughter's Irish dancing. I was really curious as to how it would describe this. So I gave it a try, and I think it's interesting to see the result. It's not necessarily something that would be applied to learning unless you are learning how to dance. I'll play about a minute of the before and then show you the after. And for anyone who is keeping score, my daughter is the one you'll see in all black. Okay, whoops, I also started it again. I meant to stop it. Let's look at the audio description. I won't play the whole thing, but you'll get an idea pretty quickly what it did.
Two young women in black tops and purple skirts walk onto a stage. They turn their backs to the camera and walk away. One dancer walks towards the camera. A young woman in a black dress walks to the center of the stage. She lifts one leg and poses, facing the camera. She walks off stage. She walks back onto the stage. She stands center stage. More dancers join her from the sides. 7 dancers walk towards the back of the stage. Close-up of dancers' feet walking on the stage. Close-up of a dancer's feet in position.
Okay, I'm going to stop there. You can see that that was not helpful at all as far as the results were concerned. The steps aren't really described well. There's a lot of repetition. This video is definitely not suited to this tool. There was a lot of expertise that was missing when it came to describing what was happening in the dance. So let's look at something that's a little bit more, again, that was just out of curiosity, and I thought it might be interesting to share. Let's look at, oops, let me move to the next one. Let's look at another video style. This one is like an infomercial with music in the background and just text on the screen. This is something I created for a behind the scenes look at a project that we did last year. And I will just play about 45 seconds of this before and show you the after. And Nicole, are you raising your hand?
I am. I wanted to know if you could address, maybe you will, captions. Did it generate captions in this video? Would I be able to get an MP4 and turn captions in later if I needed to? So I didn't know if you were going to touch on that. But
I was not, but I can answer that question. It did not generate captions. This tool did not do that for us. All it did was just give me the video output with the AI voice on top of it, but you could easily extract the audio and generate a caption file if you needed to.
So no MP4 was created?
Actually, yeah, sorry, it did create an MP4 file.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. So here's the next video style, and it did this with all 3 of these videos. It took literally, gosh, less than 2 or 3 minutes for each one of these, which I thought was really, really quick and interesting. So I'm just going to play about 45 seconds of the before with this one and then the after. Okay, so let's see what the VidiScribe did for us.
Five orange circles animate down the left side of a dark gray background. White text appears. 2024 mandatory training. Orange gears appear in the bottom right, and text below them reads, "Behind the scenes." A white email window appears on the left. Text types into the To field, Global Capability Development. Text types into the From field, Arcadis Executive Leadership Team. Text types into the subject line, Annual Mandatory Training. Text types into the Date field, November 2023. An orange circle highlights November 2023. Text types into the email body. It's time to redesign mandatory training. Read on for the requirements. Mouse cursor clicks the reply button at the bottom. White horizontal lines animate across the screen. The lines transform into an abstract orange shape with white outlines filling the screen. White text appears, requirements. A white circle with 5 appears, then modules is added next to it. A white circle with 18 appears, then
So I'm going to stop it there. I think you get the idea. There's a lot of things that probably did not need to be described, but there was a lot of things that it was really accurate with, like the email. It was very specific about what in the to and the from field and the date and so on.
We have a
So-
question in the chat. How much
Yes.
longer than the original video is the described video?
Oh, that's a really good question. Let me look at that here really quickly. Let me see. So this is 2 minutes and 49 seconds. This one was 47 seconds. So yeah, that was a lot longer than the original, but it also did include a lot of things that weren't necessary. So again, not the best example, but it is something that's maybe a little bit more usable. Let me move on to the last quick example. This was an example, it's like an explainer video, and it does have narration on it. You'll recognize the voice. Most of the time with narration support, most of the time the narration supports the words on the screen. So I wanted to see what VidiScribe would do with it. Again, this is just the first 30 seconds.
At Arcadis, our passion is to improve quality of life, and our goal is to create a sustainable future for people all over the world. We want to be recognized as the best at what we do, which requires smarter, easier, faster, and more importantly, more consistent ways of working. The Arcadis Way is a global, harmonized way of working. Let's look at the standards of the Arcadis Way.
Okay, and so just so we can figure this out, this was 31 seconds. So here's the after.
Arcadis logo. A man in glasses signs a document. Text. Arcadis Way introduction.
At our
Text. Arcadis Way of client focus. A woman smiles leaning on a bridge railing.
Arcadis, our passion is to improve quality of life,
Text. Improve quality of life.
and our goal is to create a
Text. Create a sustainable future.
sustainable future for people all over the world. We want to
Two engineers, a man and a woman, discuss. Text. We want to be recognized as the best at what we do.
be recognized as the best at what we do, which requires smarter, easier,
Two women place sticky notes on a glass board. Text. This requires more consistent ways of working.
faster, and more importantly, more consistent ways of working. The Arcadis Way is a
Text. The Arcadis Way is a global, harmonized way of working.
global, harmonized way of working. Let's look at the standards
The background turns orange.
of the Arcadis Way.
Okay, so let me just get the timing on that. So it doubled the time. It went to a full minute. So notice a couple of things. The narration was cut off, so this again might not be a good candidate. I will say though that it was impressive in what it could do in a few minutes and what it picked up. First of all, it said Arcadis correctly instead of Arcadis, which is a lot of AI tools pick that up that way. Depending on what you're looking to do, like me, you'll likely have to test different methods and tools to create the audio descriptions. And I only use the free version of VidiScribe. I do not know, I didn't have a lot of time to dive into it, but I don't know, there could be options for editing and taking out the things that you don't need and playing around with the timing as well. But definitely something to look into. Oops, let me move on here. So in summary, creating audio descriptions for educational videos is a multi-step process. You have to write the effective descriptions, choose the right tools to produce the audio and the text tracks, and then integrate them together into a student-friendly player or LMS. And by following best practices for writing descriptions, being concise, objective, and synchronized, you'll ensure that the additional narration truly enhances understanding without distracting and increases accessibility. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I know that there's probably other questions and I'll do my best to answer them. So what questions do you have?
That was wonderful. I bookmarked a bunch of things. I have some great ideas that I want to add to the cohort 3, making online content accessible. All Marnie, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
learn when we are together. Thank you, everyone. We have some thoughtful questions and comments. Feel free to come off mute and ask. As Marnie indicated before, she is in her exploration and she's done a fantastic job sharing her learning with us. So if anyone has anything to add or share or questions, please jump in for this part of the conversation. Thank you, Marnie.
You're welcome.
We do have questions in the chat, so I can either read them or people can come off
Yeah,
mute.
I can look through them, or if you want to,
I can do that, or I can ask if folks want to unmute themselves and ask the question. They can do that too. Let's see. Kim said, can it instead say something like white text appears on screen, which highlights the words being narrated?
it could. I'd have to question to see if that would actually be something that's necessary. It may not be necessary to add. That might be extra, but I guess it depends on the video or what's being presented.
Great. And Christina says, is it possible to take the VidiScribe script as text and re-record it over the audio rather than having it interrupt?
You know, yeah, that interruption is a little annoying, isn't it? I didn't play with it enough to know as much to know if what the different options were as far as setting it up to stop the video or not. But you can, I believe that you can also download the text as well. I would have, but don't quote me on that. You'd have to go play with it.
Great. Those were great examples. Thank you. All right. And Paula said, thank you very much. This was very insightful. So I think we've answered every question. If we missed something, please just let us know. And we'll hang on for another 30 seconds to a minute. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you continue to participate in the series. July 15th will be a Jacob Woods session on how blind people see the computer, and he'll do some screen reader demos for us. So that'll be great. Thank you again, Marnie. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.